Welcome to episode 7 of You Roll a 1, a feast for the living. In our last episode, our heroes managed to escape from Vardent Hollow just by the skin of their teeth, bringing back the body of Alric Stormrider and the fugitive, Henry Stormrider. They fought the goblins off of the carriage and managed to lose the last of them in a cleverly laid fog and pit trap. Upon returning to Seafall, they were ushered quickly into a makeshift hospital in the Church of Mara, and that's where we find our heroes now. All of you are sleeping in cots in this side room of the Church of Mara, and you are woken up by a pounding on the door. You can hear a muffled voice on the other side of the door, but none of you can understand really what it is or who it is. It just sounds like a muffled male voice.
Are we in a communal room?
So the four of you are in the same room communally, but it's a small side room off the main hall of the church. So you're sequestered from everyone else that's there.
This is intolerable. I'm already having to share a room with all of you, and somebody keeps knocking at the door while I'm trying to sleep. Don't they know I'm injured? And I'm gonna hold up my pinky finger that got dinged while we were in the battle.
I, having sustained 0 damage, will go and open the door.
As the door creaks open, you can see Cedric, Tamir of Seafall, standing in the doorway. His armor is blood spattered, but he's taken his helmet off. And other than that, it's still dark. You can't really see out of the room. All you can hear when the door opens is faint moaning and groaning in the other larger section of the church where the pews were. And then after a couple of seconds, the smell overpowers you inside the room. Imagine a hospital that just hasn't been cleaned. So everything bad about bodily fluids just kind of wafts into the room.
There's so many bad things.
So I'm gonna just stir in my cot. I'm gonna say I haven't even got out of it yet. Oh, what is happening?
Cedric pokes his head into the door, kind of past Manx, as though he's in a rush.
Demeclees, are you in here?
I'm gonna be waving my hand like, shh, quiet, no.
I'll go ahead and point to him. I think he's over there.
Demeclees, the sun is high in the sky, and I have questions about what transpired at Vardent Hollow. Did you recover the artifact?
Of course we did.
I'm very glad to hear that. You've kept me in waiting for these past hours. Meet me in the castle forthwith. We have much to discuss. Actually, bring the rest of your companions too. I'm sure they all have some part to play in this, and some story to tell.
Yes, definitely. This has to happen right now. I feel like we just got back, and I don't know. Have we even rested for 8 hours yet?
Yes, Demeclees, you've been in this room for more than 16 hours. The sun is high in the sky. It's nearly noon the following day. Please, can I have the crown?
Oh, you want it now?
Yes, Demeclees.
Yes. Well, I don't carry such things.
Demeclees, the crown.
It's on my head right now, and I'm looking around trying to find it.
Demeclees, I don't have time for this. There are dozens of others who need my attention.
Well, those who rush the fates, cause morning hates. Ugh.
When you can rise yourself from bed, find me in Castle Seafall. We have much to discuss. I have questions about what has happened to my brother, and anything else that you might have discovered in Vardent Hollow.
All right, fine.
And with that, he turns on his heel, walking back into the makeshift hospital, leaving the door wide open.
I guess one of us should, close the door. It stinks out there.
Yeah, I definitely closed the door. I guess we should head up to the castle, guys.
So, Manx, roll a perception check, Manx, as you're closing the door.
Oh, hot 6 on the table. 10.
You can't really get a good sense of what has happened to the church, but as you kind of peer through the darkness of the gloom, you just feel like there's press of bodies inside. In the way that you guys were some of the first to come back from the battle before, and when you walked through the hospital, most of the beds were empty. You get the sense now that the room is just packed with people. It almost feels damp inside the church. And then the door is closed and the smell dissipates.
Yeah. And we would know this as being like the return soldiers that set the pick for us, yes?
You probably would. Demeclees might, but certainly Axel and Nictor have not ever been in any type of large-scale conflicts before. It's probably something that Demeclees would have read about because of formal training, and you, as a healer, would have been called to stuff like this to hear prayers or to dress bandages.
Which one of you's lost it?
It's on your head.
I have the crown? Oh, yes, of course. Well, why didn't anyone tell me I was sleeping in a crown?
You looked so peaceful, and we figured that was the best way to keep it safe, because it would wake you up if someone tried to take it.
It just fits you so well.
Yes, it seems to be magical. It changes to the shape of someone's head. Look, if I put it up to Axel's ginormous head, it expands to somehow fit it.
Thanks for noticing.
And then Manx's pea-brained head over here, quite a bit smaller. This is called magic, Manx.
Yeah, I kind of like brush him aside. I'm like, yes, indeed. Did you have any fun dreams while you were wearing the crown when you were asleep?
No, the crown interferes with everything. That's why you can't let me sleep with a crown on. It interferes with the dreamscapes that I get from the fates and the winds and tides of fate.
So what you're saying is you had a good sleep last night.
Yeah, quite good.
Slept like a baby.
Do you feel well rested enough to perform an arcana check on it?
Ooh, I could, inspect it a little bit.
We've gone to all this trouble to collect it, and I don't think anyone has even put it on.
Make an investigation check.
Oh, I rolled well. 18. That's 24 then.
As you investigate it and tip it over and sense its energies, one of the more interesting things is that it feels like magic that you have not ever experienced. Most of the magic that you would encounter, either from casting that you've had or anyone else that you've ever experienced, or even when Manx casts magic, it feels modern. And the magic that you're experiencing or you feel with the crown, the sense that you get is that it feels entirely alien and entirely otherworldly. Whereas if you sense anyone else's magic nearby you, it feels similar to your own.
This feels... well, it's a very technical thing, you see. It's something that I would call alieноmancy. Very strange and weird. It's not from this, perhaps, dimension, or perhaps even this plane of existence. It's made of something quite foreign, quite strange. Yes, alieноmancy. That's what I'll call it.
Yes.
Yeah, can we identify the tree it's made out of?
I thought it was made out of driftwood.
Oh, nature check right here. Oh, it's not good though. 5.
The wood in the driftwood seems to have been mummified, so it seems very, very old, and you can't actually tell what it used to be from a living standpoint. It's more of a fossil, but intertwined in the actual chunks of driftwood are gems of different sorts. There is one torch that was burning quietly in the room, and as you move the crown around, as Demeclees puts it on different people's heads, the closer it gets to the torch, the darker the room gets, and the crown seems to absorb the light from the torch.
That's wild.
Manx, make a history check.
Gladly. I do most things well. Not this, though. Tell you that right now. 19.
So you remember a conversation that you had when you first came to Seafall, that the crown's importance to the townsfolk was that it functionally acted as a lighthouse, and it would absorb the sun's rays and then beam them out into the night sky.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and say that to the group. Like, you know, this did function as kind of the bastion for the town so that ships could come in and out. Perhaps it's tied to, you know, the solar tides, the day, the night cycle, but we should probably get it inspected and put it back on the statue of Mara.
Perhaps we have to do this in order to turn it on. And then I'm going to poke at all the individual jewels and see if I can get any of the jewels to turn into lights. You know how you might push a variety of buttons on a computer screen.
Nothing happens, but they do make genuine, like, tinking noises the same way. So they are actual gems as opposed to any type of illusion.
I have an idea. Can you pass me that crown? I'd like to hold this crown up, you know, for something that's called a crown, but has a tool of a glorified torch. I would like to know, can I peer through this thing?
When you hold it up to the light, you can see straight through it. It doesn't seem to magnify or zoom out anything on the other side.
That's good thinking, though, Nictor.
I give it a good shake out of frustration.
I'm going to ask Axel how his foot is doing.
I'm gonna peel myself out of my bed, and as I swing around and put my feet to the ground, I'm gonna like wince pretty hard. Not like an audible groan, but just like you can tell I'm not putting full weight on it. And I'm gonna be like, Max, do you mind checking out my foot here?
Let me take a look at that. I'm going to do a medicine check. 11.
The first thing that you notice is that the healing from the honey it helped cauterize some of the wounds and the bleeding. So it allowed Axel to kind of continue on. But a lot of what it seemed to do is also give him a lot of adrenaline to allow him to continue on in what was happening. You'll notice that when the item went through his foot, it dislodged a bunch of bones and has just permanently destroyed a lot of the tendons in the middle of his foot. Although he can still probably walk, unless there is some type of magical rejuvenating spa or something that you've never heard of, that is kind of a permanent crippling of that foot.
Oh, man. Tell it to me straight, Doc. Is it bad?
You got a complete rupture of your Lis franc ligament, and you tore through most of the plantar fascia.
Oh, is that all?
In the words of Galadriel, this wound will haunt you for the rest of your life, for the rest of your life, for the rest of your life, for the rest of your life.
Okay. Not how I was hoping to celebrate this victory of getting the crown, so...
I'm sorry, my friend. You might be a cripple.
Do you have any triage bandages so I could get this thing a little more support? Man, I was just gonna wrap it, you know?
I'm really sorry, and yeah, like I'll do my best. I'm assuming we have access to basic medical supplies.
Inside the room seems to be pretty bare.
Does the cot have a sheet on it? Like a bed sheet?
You guys would have had bed rolls in your packs, but that would have been it. That being said, you guys are also in a temporary hospital, right? So there is going to be medical supplies, just not in the room that you're in.
Yeah. You hang out here, Axel, and I'm just going to go out into the main hospital and get some cloth strips and even like a poultice if I can find it.
So you're going to go and open the door again?
Yeah.
Okay, and again, immediately the smell of bodies and dampness presses back into the room.
Close the door! Close the door!
I know. And I had to shut the door.
Whew. Hope they replace that smell with the smell of breakfast soon.
Manx, as you close the door behind you, to Demeclees' cry out of making sure the door is closed, firstly, I need you to make a Constitution save. I'm going to give you advantage on this.
Oh, so gladly. Will I do that? First one was a 7, then a 1, so we're going to go with 7, a 9.
As you take stock for a minute, you actually become sickened with the overpowering stink, and your eyes get adjusted to the gloom in the room.
I just vomit immediately.
No, not quite, but you do get really nauseous in a way that you previously haven't had that problem. Your previous experience as a coroner would have made you felt like you were prepared for this, and the answer is you really don't actually feel prepared for this.
Just like the overwhelmingness of being in here. It's not like a particular disease.
Yeah, it's not a disease, it's just the scale. Previously, you would deal with 1 or maybe 2 bodies at a time in the small town that you were performing your coronary and grave rites, whereas what you see ahead of you is more like 150 bodies pressed into too few beds, to the point where you can actually see people that are missing limbs just sitting against pillars or lying on the ground. There's fresh blood stains on the floor that you can see in different puddles. There's drying blood stains. It kind of is an overwhelming, disgusting mess. The church itself is one of the only 2-story buildings in the town, and you can see that there's even beds lining the upper causeways. There are really not that many attendants because this is not a town that is used to this. Make a knowledge check.
Intelligence 7 and a 3. Oh, I'm rolling so trashy today.
So your memory just doesn't come to you at the point. But the first thing that strikes you is that there's all these wounded individuals and really not very many attendants. It's almost like a stillness that kind of hangs over everything. There's just not that much happening. You can see, maybe 5 or 6 attendants that are going back and forth, and then you see maybe 2 people that are coming through and carrying out recently deceased bodies. You can look around, there's kind of medical stuff everywhere, like gauzes and bandages and stuff at the foot of every bed.
Okay. Do I see anybody that's in charge noticeably? Like, if there's only 5 attendants, do I see anybody attending that I can be like, hey, do you guys need some help?
From where you're standing in your current state, no, not really. You're just kind of standing in the door taking all of this in. It just kind of looks like it's abandoned almost, like many of these people are abandoned.
Okay, so I'm gonna run up to a bedside. I'm gonna grab some stuff so that I can heal our party up, and then I'm going to dip out and see if I can just help all of the sad, injured people.
So you're going to grab like nearest bandages and stuff?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go grab some bandages, some poultice, some whatever needs to be grabbed.
Okay, and then back to the room.
Are there any statistical hindrances tied to my now stump?
Yes, so it's a permanent movement speed decrease of 5 feet per turn. You'll also take a disadvantage on any jump checks made with a running start.
I would have just been like slowly hobbling around the room, checking the what my range of motion is with it now, I guess, and then just kind of sitting back down, looking a little depressed.
So you'll notice there's kind of 2 things that are happening here. You're not sure how much range of motion you're going to get back. There's still it's still an open wound, right? So you'll notice as you flex your foot back and forth or try and flex your toes, you actually don't have a lot of feeling in your toes. So you don't know what will happen there. But when you actually go to flex your foot, you can actually feel the skin kind of break from where it had scabbed over, and it actually is quite painful.
I would like to come back in and just try to tend his wound. Like, hey, you should sit down. You broke the skin there.
Yeah, I got a little bit of airflow in that thing.
Close the door.
I get up and close the door.
It's surprising that a smell so putrid can overwhelm the smell of Axel's feet in here.
Oh God! As Manx is tightening the strap, I'm gonna groan. 16 hours on that. I'm gonna be muttering that to myself as I'm putting the boot on. How do the fates feel about a 22-hour break?
Funny fact, gnomes can sleep for 22 hours straight at certain intervals. It depends really on the amount of wine we've imbibed. May I just say, a loss of a foot, you might feel like you've got some arch enemies. And remember, adversity does not define a person. It reveals their healing power.
Is this just going to be puns until the big bad evil guy, 50 sessions from now? I mean,
In time, as you toe tally, adapt to this new reality, you'll discover ankle-bending courage and resilience you never knew you possessed. Your journey will be marked by many steps forward, so tread lightly.
Demeclees, can I just get a small reprieve from your color commentary? This is kind of a big deal to me.
I don't understand what you're talking about. The words come to me from the fates.
Just kind of feels like you're salting the wound a little bit, though.
I know you're a resilient soul.
Yeah, I hate you. And the fates.
Oh, please, you know laughter is the best medicine. I'm trying to leave you in stitches.
I'm just like, all right.
Well, it's funny. The highest intelligence of us seem to walk away with virtually unscathed.
I'm going to completely ignore that comment. That's how Axel's going to play that. He's reached the limit.
Manx, I'm going to need you to make a heal check to see how effectively you are able to put the racking and bandages on Axel's foot.
12.
Axel, the moment that Manx has kind of gone ahead and actually moved your foot around and packed the wound with some healing herbs that he's got in there and then bandaged it up for you, you can actually feel like you can put 70% of your weight on it. It actually feels remarkably better. And so although you're still certainly walking with a limp and you probably wouldn't try and sprint, you actually feel like it's not that much of an inconvenience. Before you were kind of thinking you might need crutches to move around, and now you really feel a lot more comfortable with the movement.
I'm just going to be poking at my bare holes in my shoulder since I got bit pretty severely. Hey, Manx, since you're done wrapping up Axel there, do you mind just having a look at my extra holes in my body here?
And I'm rolling hot garbage. So I rolled a 10 to help tend to Nictor's wounds.
A couple of things here. The first one is Manx, you're going to use up the last of any of the healing supplies you would have in a healing kit on packing the wounds. Nictor has not only some puncture wounds above his left shoulder from the bear, but also lots of claw marks. So you can tell immediately that this is going to scar pretty seriously. His... not quite his bicep, but like the actual shoulder rotocuff to the shoulder blade and then over into the pectoral muscle on the front side. That's all going to be pretty hideously scarred from now on.
It's hard getting used to about 36 to 40 extra holes in your body. Time will heal these as best as they can.
I'm just going to say to Nictor, like, hey, glad it wasn't me that got the brunt of it. I hope it heals up well.
This is the guy missing a foot. I think we're traveling at the same speed now.
It's still there. I'm gonna be like slightly offended.
Sorry, Nictor. I'm doing the best I can. You took quite a beating from that bear.
A beating? I almost took an eating from him. Oh, so long as we can stop all this gross pus and scabbage coming out of me, I'll be as right as rain, or as best as I can be.
Now, guys, are we planning on going to the castle immediately? I think it would be smart, but if we're not, then I'd like to stay here at the hospital and help the wounded because they have no staff on duty.
Oh, how bad is it out there?
I mean, it's as bad as it smells. It seems like a lot of the soldiers don't have anybody to take care of them.
Well, at least people are in church. Elric did demand that we come forthwith with the crown and such.
Okay, then let's go.
I'll grab the crown off of Axel's head and then dust it off. Try to scrub off all the things that I think, oh, that's kind of disgusting. And then I will into my cloak, deftly. Can somebody open the door?
Oh, now he wants it open. And I'm just gonna like cross my arms and stare at you.
I will roll my eyes and just open the door.
I take a deep breath before he does so, and then as soon as he opens it, starts to run as quickly as I can through the church, trying not to breathe.
I still need everyone to Constitution save.
I rolled a nat 20, so I guess I don't mind the smell.
I got a 17 total.
I rolled an at 19.
Okay, so it seems like the rest of you kind of deal with this surprisingly well. Demeclees doesn't breathe and is sprinting for the door. And Axel and Nictor, it actually surprises you how little this press of wounded has on you. It actually is a mental note that you would have expected this to be a bigger problem, and it actually doesn't seem to affect you. So that actually kind of buoys your spirits. I'm actually going to give you inspiration because you feel like real warriors being more comfortable with the results of combat.
World's worst healer right here. I can't bandage simple wounds. I'm grossed out by blood.
You sure know a lot about feet, though, so there's that. Apparently I have a navel in my foot, whatever that means.
Sure do. The navicular. It's right next to your cuboid, but just behind the cuneiforms.
Demeclees bursts out from the front of the church and almost runs directly into Cedric's walking down the steps.
Sorry about that. But yes, I realized the urgency of which we needed to get this crown to you.
Ah, Demeclees, I'm glad you're finally with us. Or at least paying attention, that is. I was beginning to think the crown had some negative effect upon your demeanor.
Sometimes when you commune with the fates, especially when sleeping, awaking can take, like a good 20 or 30 minutes to really come around to being okay. I apologize if during that time I said anything to insult you or illuminate your obvious lack of abilities or something. It's not me.
Could I have the driftwood crown now, Demeclees? It is, after all, why we're all here.
Aye, yes, of course, I have it right here. And I will deftly bring it out and swing it around on my finger. Yes, of course, sir. Is this going to go right back in to be the lighthouse again?
Indeed, it's where it belongs. And I need those merchant ships to find a safe way to port. It will go back on the head of the statue of Mara immediately.
I was trying to look at it before I hand it over. I was trying to look at it, trying to figure out how you turn it on. It seems we could attract light into it, but we couldn't get the light to shine out of it. How does this device work?
Come now, Demeclees. We don't have time to discuss such arcane matters as how the crown works and its intricate details. When you returned, I found my brother's body horribly mangled in the back of a cart. Can you explain what happened in Vardent Hollow?
Right. Well, first, here's the crown, and I'll place it upon his... I'll try and place it upon his head, but he has to lean down for me to do that.
He just kind of like, he doesn't lean down, he just takes it in his hand and then holds it. It's like he doesn't think he deserves to wear it.
You're talking, of course, of your brother, right? Elric, right? Well, you see, there's, the thing is, we got there, and when we got in to try and fight it, we got attacked by a lot of things. Are you aware of the Purple Bear Clan?
Purple Bear Clan? Demeclees, you must know that there is no noble house that is the Purple Bear Clan. Of what do you speak?
Well, the thing is, when you take a purple bear and you have one fall in love with a goblin, sometimes those will produce very strange beasts. And I believe that's what they were doing there. There's these giant purple bears. They really do hurt people. You have to see Axel's foot. It's basically torn to shreds. He'll probably never walk again. Don't tell him that. It's better to keep up hopes, you understand. But it's grisly, pun intended, because they were bears, you see.
Demeclees.
Oh, you're asking about Elric. Well, there was this really awful woman there, and she
Demeclees, please. It's been a long few days. You're speaking to me of goblins and bears breeding. That is not what I asked. What happened to Elric?
I'm getting to that. It's context you want to understand. Okay. We went up these long flight of stairs, quite a few. You wouldn't believe how many steps we had to take. It was one after the other, and I thought, this is never going to end. It's going to take forever to get all the way to the top. And then when we finally got there, someone shot arrows at us, and it was a long corridor with this, you might call it a throne, but it was grisly and dark and ugly and shadowy and bleh.
Elric was inside the throne room with the crown? How did he get there before you? I thought you were together.
Aye, yes. Now you have the perfect picture. See, you're a good listener. And now I went forward, looking to, of course, reclaim Elric and bring him back forthwith. And then this weird, kind of scary, dark lady person, I would say coated in shadows and mystique and evil, very much you can sense that. Well, along the way, she started talking, and how it goes when people talk. You can't always remember or pay attention to everything they're saying for the whole time. But at some point, a hook came out of the bottom and stabbed him right through the heart and lifted him high up into the air. And I thought, ooh, that's got to hurt. So as much as we really wanted to save him, he was dead almost immediately. And then the whole floor fell out. And the thing about this is, I thought, I know what Cedric would want. He'd at least want the body, right? So we shot the body down with arrows, and it fell with a great splat.
We're going to pause it there for a second. And Niktor, you got the highest perception check, so we're actually going to move to you next. So as you're striding through the church, you actually see Roderick, the onion merchant, lying on one of the cots. He's got a really deep cut down the side from like one of his lower ribs all the way to his hip. It is bandaged, but he's lying on a cot. He is like conscious, but he looks pretty pale and unhappy.
Roderick, you're here and injured? How did you wind up in this mess?
Oh, hello there, Niktor. One of those goblins got me. I guess you can only be lucky for so long. He managed to dodge me onions, and then got me right good in the side with his little stabber.
Roderick, man, this was no place for you. Did you even have enough onions to take care of everyone?
Of course not, Niktor. You could never have enough onions. But when the Tamir calls the banners, nearly the whole town goes. So I pick up my spear, I pick up my shield, and I pick up a couple of extra onions, and off we go to Vardent Hollow. Guessing that by those bandages there, you didn't come out of this scot-free either, son.
I definitely got myself in a bit of a closer shave than I would have liked to.
Niktor, Come close here. Let me teach you an ancient dwarven technique of breathing, in case you ever find yourself in another predicament and you need to overcome a tremendous amount of pain.
You gotta be careful with those trigger points, Tai Chi type of stuff. I'm a little bit more sensitive in this area.
Of course, Nictor, that's the point. If you can center yourself, and let that dwarven blood pump through your veins, you can withstand damn near anything.
And he whispers secret phrases in Dwarvish into your ear, and they kind of seem nonsensical, but as he says them to you, you do feel a general sense of calm that comes over you, so you get your feet Dwarven Fortitude.
Well, thank you, Roderick. I feel stronger already. Where did you learn such a technique?
I've traveled a fair ways before I started selling onions, but no time for that now. Help me up here, boy. My guess is that we'll be celebrating the success of our raid, and we'll need old Roderick's French onion soup for such a thing.
Are you sure you're ready to get up? You know, we got plenty of chefs around.
He shoots you a withering stare.
Alright, let's go, Roderick. Easy does it.
So you help him up, and he's actually surprisingly stable. He assumes you're following him, and he just wanders off towards the door. Surprisingly cogent.
Now that's a dwarvikin of focus and commitment right there.
As you follow Roderick out of the foul-smelling church, you see Demeclees animatedly telling a story to a gore-covered Cedric.
And his body went splat.
We're going to jump the focus over to Axel, and you actually bump a cot with your leg, kind of like stubbing your toe, but you realize it actually doesn't hurt your toe. You actually can't feel your toe at all. And then you look down, and you see Grimoire lying on that bed with his left leg splinted.
Axel, what are you doing here? Hopefully better than me.
Oh my god, Grim, is that you?
Aye, boss, it's me. Looks like you and I are foot brothers. I've broken my leg pretty badly. It looks like something's going on with your leg, too.
Not so much better, and I'm just gonna gesture to my foot that I can't feel. Oh yeah, sure. Trauma bonding, yeah.
Have you seen my brother, Tobias?
I have not seen Tobias. This is the first I'm seeing of either of you in a good while. Yeah, I'm here because we were on a mission, if you will, and got pretty dinged up.
Tobias managed to get through that scrap without getting a single cut, nick, or even a bruise. Never figured out how he could do such a thing. I've broken bones before. This one's not too bad. Freya did a heck of a job splinting and setting it. I'll hobble about for a few weeks, but I'll be all right. What about you?
You're in good spirits, and I'm gonna take note of that. And it's kind of infectious. You're gonna see Axel's mood perk up a little bit just because of how unrelenting his positivity is. And I'm gonna say, yeah, I don't know if a couple weeks is. My friend who assessed my foot seems to think this is gonna be permanent. So. I'm not so lucky, and we all can't be so lucky. I also had a friend who did not get a scratch on him during the battle, and such are the fates. And I'm gonna very, kind of half-heartedly say the fates and give almost a sarcastic shrug, eh. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that Tobias is alive. Some weren't so lucky.
Rumor has it that Tobias took down nearly a dozen goblins on his own. And even a bear warrior, one of those big hunky brutes. I guess we're gonna call you old Clubfoot Tarkus now, eh? That's got a pretty good ring to it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, might as well just rip the Band-Aid off and assume the role is the gimp, I suppose. But hey, I feel stronger even after my pretty serious injury, so.
How the heck did a goblin manage to do that much damage to you?
No, it was not a goblin. It was actually... You're not going to believe this, but it was a purple bear-like goblin, and it stabbed a sword through my foot.
Those bears were tougher than they had any right to be. I bet more than half the souls in here met one of them bears.
We were lucky in that we slew our bear, I guess is what we're calling them.
You killed one?
Not alone. I had quite a tremendous amount of help from my companions. But yes, we slew one. Not without very, very great effort. And again, just going to gesture at the foot. Good old clubfoot over here.
Taking down one of those big bear warriors with the whole group of you isn't nearly as heroic a story. When I tell that story to the others, I'm going to make sure it's just you versus the bear, if you know what I mean.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm all for embellishment for story's sake. Though if he were to ask me directly, I would probably tell him the truth. So, but yeah, you do your thing. It's good to inspire courage in others, so.
You should get out of here now. It reeks of death in here, and I'm sure there's other things you have to do today. Apparently there's going to be a feast later. I hope I can see you there. We'll tell each other stories about our fight at Vardent Hollow.
Yeah, I do have other matters, but it was good to see you, Grimoire. Good to see that you're in such high spirits. Gotta say, it's quite contagious. I'm gonna, shoot him a little, half grin, and I'm gonna put my hand on his shoulder and say, what doesn't kill you makes us stronger, right?
He kind of waves at you as you depart, and as you exit the church, you can see Nictor and standing next to Demeclees talking to a gore-covered Cedric.
And his body went splat.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to move over now to Manx, who is actually going to be accosted as you leave carrying the bloody bandages that you cut off from Axel.
What do you think you're doing in my hospital? Stealing supplies, no doubt.
Do I recognize this little girl?
As your initial shock of being accosted wears off, you realize that it is the same little girl that ushered you into the side chamber when you first got back, although she's now basically covered in mostly blood, but her hair's all matted and she's got fresh bandages in her arms, but the clothes that she's wearing are just completely disgusting.
Yeah, okay. I'm probably gonna stutter and it's you.
She just throws the bandages into your arms, forcing you to drop the dirty ones to try and catch them. Make a dexterity check.
Dexterity check. Bam! Hot 10.
So you catch half of them as they fall onto the ground, and she just sighs at you.
Mara skirts, look at this, contaminating all the bandages.
She starts snatching them up and throwing them at you. Imagine getting pelted with toilet paper rolls. She's just kind of chucking these rolls of gauze at you, and then she snatches up the soiled rags that you had dropped to try and catch hers and starts marching off with them towards the door.
Wait, how can I help you here? What's your name?
I'm Freya Stormrider. Now, do you know your way around a healer's kit, or do you need to get out of my hospital? Because I have no time for anything else.
I'm doing my best.
She kind of scoffs at you and turns away and walks probably 3 more cots down to somebody who's got a splinted leg and just kneels there and almost completely ignores you again.
So I feel inadequate. I'm going to look around to the nearest person that's close to her, but not that close, 2 or 3 beds away, so I can just eye her and see what she's doing and try to just help as best I can on the nearest person.
What are you doing? That man is dead. If you're gonna help, come here. This man is going to get an infection in his leg from such a deep wound. We're gonna have to amputate. Now, do you know how to use one of these?
And you look down and see that the bed that you've kind of kneeled over is a dead guy. And she just beckons you over and pulls out a bone saw out of nowhere and positions it right above his knee.
Oh god. Okay, yeah, I hold him down. I take some of the bandages and twist them into a little corded knot, and I put them in his mouth to bite down on.
As you go to put the bandages in his mouth, you'll realize that the person is delirious. He's clearly alive because he's making noises and he's moving his head a little bit, but he doesn't seem fully cognizant, and she looks back at you.
Don't focus on him. He's been sedated by jellyfish oil. Now, I don't have enough strength to get this bone saw through his leg, but you probably do. So get ready.
Listen, I'm a fast learner, and I want to be able to help.
She eyes you up and down and then hands you the bone saw, and she kind of trades positions with you, so she's holding the splinted leg in place so it doesn't move, and then you're closer to his upper body so that you can actually get ready to cut him. Make a medicine check.
Oh god. So, still a little sickened, Let's go. Oh my Jesus Christ. I cannot roll above 10 today. That total is a 12.
Your first cut, your hand's kind of jittery, and it makes a jagged cut above his leg. And she just like immediately grabs your hand and like moves it away.
Stop. You're too jumpy, and you're gonna give him permanent damage, even more than the loss of a limb.
And she puts her hand into one of the pockets and pulls out, it's like a sprig of holly, and she just crushes it up under your nose, and you immediately feel like your sickened condition leaves, and you feel much better.
You can't perform medicine if you can't think. We need a clean cut so infection doesn't set in, and this will heal smoothly. Now, try again.
And she moves the bone saw back into position. Make another medicine check, but this time with advantage.
Okay, 8, and with advantage, 3. Are you... Oh my god, so...
It's better cut, but it's still kind of jagged, and she goes...
I really thought you could do this.
She just pushes you aside, and then starts to, even though his leg isn't pinned down, just holding it in one hand, she starts making better cuts than what you do. But you can tell that she's getting tired pretty quickly because she just doesn't have the strength to really operate a bone saw.
Just the worst crew of people. Yeah, I got nothing even to help her with here, spell-wise.
Okay, so, you can't cut. But he's bleeding freely here. Get the bandages. Don't just stand there with your mouth agape.
Yeah. I'm gonna, grab the bandages and start making kind of a tourniquet. And I will also start looking around for, a hot poker to cauterize.
As she manages to, finally cut through the last of the leg, she gestures for you to take the leg.
There's a cart outside the hospital where you can throw that with the others. When you're feeling better, come back. Until then, get out of my hospital. I don't have time to waste.
Will you train me?
What do you mean train you? I'm 12. Look, I know you're trying to do the best that you can. And you know what? I am too. I don't really understand how to do a lot of the stuff that we're doing here, but these are my people, and I'm doing my best. And if you want to come back and help me, I would love the help, because you probably know some things I don't know either.
You made it look so easy. I'm really impressed by your cut work.
I know you were part of the advanced war party that brought back the crown, which means you've probably got a part in tonight's feast. But maybe once that's over, you can come back and you can help me here. But enjoy the feast, and hopefully I'll see you there. There's about 150 people in this hospital, and they're my responsibility. So I don't know if I'll get there, but I hope I can see you there. And, even though it wasn't a really good job, thanks for your help anyway.
Okay, so I would like to cast Healing Word on this guy as my final act and be like, well, I could do some things. So I cast Healing Word to make sure that he's at least stable. He's not going to bleed out.
Feel better.
I make sure the bandages are tight and say, thank you. And I'm sorry, your name again?
I'm Freya Stormrider. You know my dad, Cedric. I'm his oldest child. Well, I guess second oldest now, but whatever. Take this leg and dispose of it. Thanks again for your help.
Okay, thank you, Freya. I'll find you later.
She just kind of nods and then immediately moves to another bed. As you exit the church, you can see Nictor is already out there with Demeclees, who's talking to Cedric, and then Axel comes out right behind you. Nictor, you're engrossed in Demeclees' story, but Axel, as you come out from the church behind Manx, you realize that Manx is holding a human leg.
So I'm just going to shoot a perplexed look at Manx. Oh, I see you found me a replacement. And I'm just going to give a befuddled look.
Oh, no, this one's already broken. Oh, no, sorry, I'm supposed to dispose of this. I had to help the attending physician.
Okay, well, let's find where we can pitch that, and let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, how far away is the city wall?
You're kind of interrupted by Cedric.
Splat!
Can one of you help me with this? I am just trying to figure out what happened to my brother Alec and how you found my son in Vardent Hollow.
Didn't we take the hook out of his body? Because you want to know about your brother, right?
Yes, we did. I ended up throwing it.
Yes, Axel ripped the hook out of your brother's dead body. It was essential, and threw it at one of these bear goblins. Were to knock them off their wolf riding, and there's a big hole in the road that we kind of knew about, and but Manx was driving, and we circumnavigated around, tricking all of them to fall into a great pit, and you probably want to get someone out there to fix that hole, though, because there's a lot of dead bodies and spikes and awful things in there. It's probably rotten and smells like trash, kind of like the church. You're going to need to clean up in there, too. So that's pretty much what happened.
Well, I'm glad you got the crown, but I don't understand. How did my brother get onto the throne? And you said who played this trap? Some woman of shadows?
Yes. Did she have a name? Does anyone remember? Did anyone catch her name? I'm going to look at everyone else.
One of the nobles of the Ravenshield house.
I'm going to interject and say, look, Cedric, your brother, upon seeing the Driftwood crown and the captive, he got distracted. We tried to call out to him, and he played right into this woman's trap, and it costed him dearly. So.
Oh, and he'd been eating a lot of bacon, and like a lot, and I think his heart gave out on him.
Well, it was probably the meat hook that split him in half, but yeah, the bacon wasn't good.
The heart has a tendency to not function with a meat hook in it.
I think it could be two things. It could be two things.
Your story is still not making sense. You've managed to save my son somehow, who I didn't even know was in Vardent Hollow, and you're telling me now that somebody associated with Ravenshield, or a Queen of Shadows of some sort, is behind all of this?
Does the name Bella ring any bells?
Bella Ravenshield? Are you sure?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Oh, yes. Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Could you identify her if you saw her again?
Very much so. It's hard to forget someone who just threw a meat hook through someone else.
I probably couldn't pick her out of a lineup. You all look similar to me.
Hey, so is there a reason Henry looks old physically? He looks like he's in his, 60s?
15 years of captivity and torture will do a lot to a man, Axel. I hope you never have to experience it yourself.
He takes a few steps down the church stairs and gestures for you to follow him. And he points towards the market square. Long trestle tables have been set out, and there's cooking fires and fire pits going on. And as he points to it, you can all now start to smell different spiced meats, and you can actually start to smell the cooking that's coming over. And all of you immediately kind of realize that you're incredibly hungry because you've been sleeping for 16 hours and you didn't really get much food during the combat. There was a number of hours before that. So you haven't actually eaten in 20 to 24 hours.
Smells like our boy Moyardee is cooking something up again, boys.
If you'll excuse me, my brother's body grows cold and I must bury him. And I need to check on the recovery of my long-lost son. Please, start your feasting now, and I hope to catch up with you by evening's end.
Before he turns, I want to make a gesture of Mara and give him, blessings be with your brother and your family.
Thank you, preacher, and may Mara be with you.
And he just kind of walks away without a further word, and he's holding his helmet, and he's still covered in the signs and blood of battle.
Gosh, if Cedric were any dimmer, he'd be a candle on a cloudy day. I explained it to him 4 times.
Guy's seen some shit, so...
But anyways, I'm going to get rid of this, and I walk off towards the city walls with my leg.
I'm starving. Let's go to the feast.
And you all walk over to the feast, and it really is the closer you get, the hungrier you are, and it also becomes really excitedly overpowering. So you can see 4 full hogs roasting. You can see more than 4 deer that are roasting as well. Probably 100 chickens that are being roasted here. It's just a really incredible sight. There's probably 600 or 700 people that are crowded in the square. Some are already eating, some are waiting in line to eat. And over all of that chatter, you can still hear Chef Moyardee yelling and screaming about more tables and, cook faster. Now that you guys get to decide, are you standing in line for deer? Do you want pork? What are you trying to eat here?
I'm going to wash my hands.
There is little, tubs with water.
I'm going to go to the chicken line.
Chicken.
Getting me some deer bacon.
Yeah, I eat anything. I'm going to get in the venison line once I feel as though my hands are clean.
So the party separates to get into the two different lines of the food that you guys have chosen. So Demeclees and Axel are in the same line, and then Manx and Nictor are in the same line. The line shuffles forward, and you soon get your full plate of food with your selection of different meats, vegetables, mashed potatoes, buns, you name it, just piled on high by Chef Boyardee's instructions. Now, as you come out the other side of the line, the question is, do you sit together? Are you guys hunting for specific people to sit next to and chat with? Where do you want to go with that?
Is there any wine?
That is a fantastic question. And almost as though you thought it and manifested it, as you sit down for your first plate of food, you see like a big cheer come up from the crowd, and you can see that literal barrels of beer are being stacked. Like beer and ale and mead are being stacked over on one of the sides of the yard, and a queue is already forming to try and start drinking. And
I'm going to get myself some mead. Don't let anyone eat this. As I step off to go and get the mead.
I'll be like, can you grab me one?
Make it 3.
as the group is sitting, Tobias actually comes and sits right where Demeclees was, next to Axel, and gives you like a shoulder to try to like jostle you around good-naturedly.
So, you're still on this side of the dirt, eh, Master Mason?
That I did. I see that you are unscathed. I think your father would be proud. You really did a number out there.
Well, I picked up a few new bruises, but overall my spear was true. Those gobos didn't know what hit them.
I'm gonna lean in a little bit and... So, how many gobos did you get?
14 by my count.
Wow, that's impressive. I can't say I got double digits, but good for you.
Maybe next time don't get a special assignment. You and I can stand side by side and see who Mara favors more, hmm?
Oh yeah, bring it on. And I'm going to, as I'm eating chicken, pull Demeclees' plate closer to mine as we're having people join the table.
Oh, I'd like to interject at this point and do a tangential intimidation check and just be like, oh, he's just being modest. He killed a bear. 22.
You killed one of those big bear warriors.
Bear Slayer is what they're calling him.
I heard it was Clubfoot.
Single-handedly, of course, Axel.
I'm gonna roll my eyes and be like, yeah, I guess. I got the killing blow. Let's say that.
And to think a mere 2 days ago we were sitting discussing the nature of stone. And here we are, now, sitting on the heads of our enemies.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of beam a little bit because it was an accomplishment. Yeah, and I hope I never run into one of those things again, though. I count myself lucky.
Just pause for a second and move over to Demeclees. As you're waddling over to get your mead, you get intercepted by Henry, who doesn't really say anything. He just kind of calls you over.
Hey, future whisperer.
And he kind of gestures to a head table that you hadn't noticed before. It's where the rest of the nobles of the Stormrider are sitting. So you can see the other two smaller children that you had met previously when you had first come to Seafall. And you notice one of the most striking changes in a person. His hair has been cut and he looks like he actually has life in him as opposed to being so decrepit.
Oh, you want me to sit at the children's table?
Not a children's table, Demeclees. A place of honor.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, I do have these, and I'd like to have 4 meads on me right now. I'm just trying to carry them all. Yes, absolutely. I'll come sit with you.
Thank you for joining me, Demeclees. I'm sure you've already met my half-sister Helga and half-brother Targan.
I was about to have a toast with my good fellows, but you'll all do. Here, children. I'd like to hand around the 4 meads to everybody at the children's table. We lost a fairly important member of our party along the way, and as you all know, many were lost, but this was a fine gnome. Her name was Ida Hotspur. You know, in the great battle, around the time we ripped the hook out of, what was it, Derek? Alric. Out of Alric's chest. She got knocked from the caravan and fell somewhere along the way, and we lost her to the wolves and the goblins, as far as we know. So, I would like to pour out one for her, and I'll pour one whole mead onto the ground as a tribute to Ida Hotspur, and then cheers the children and insists that they drink down the whole mead with me.
Uncle Alric has a hook in his chest? What happened?
Drink up, and then I'll tell you. It's impolite to not drink when someone dies, you see.
Make an insight check to see if you can notice that Henry is clearly embarrassed that he even invited you over.
Oh, well, I might realize whether I care is a totally different thing. So I got 16.
You see the shocked expression on Henry's face. So yeah, you do definitely see that he is really unsure of you now as a person, or unsure of your judgment, handing mead to a 5 and 7-year-old and then graphically describing the murder of their uncle. But you can decide to not care if you would choose.
I'll look in at Henry and say, you know, it's not right to keep things from children. The truth is its own reward, you see. Drink up, everybody!
So Henry gestures for them to pour the mead out on the ground, just like you, and then he stands up.
Demeclees, why don't we enjoy more meads with your party? And tonight we'll let the kids just be kids.
Oh, excellent idea. Yes. We'll go over to the mead filling station and do that again.
So Manx, the way that I'm having you guys sit, Axel and Demeclees were sitting on one side of a table, and then Manx and Nictor are sitting on the other side of the table, and then Demeclees' spot has been taken by Tobias. So Manx and Nictor are sitting on the other side. Manx, you get approached by a large man with long hair. Make a perception check.
God damn it, 7 total.
Okay. So he sits down next to you.
Manx, I'm glad to see you made it through the combat, and you've recovered well from your wounds.
You have no idea who this person is.
I was just going to say, I don't recognize him, do I? We made it out by the skin of our teeth thanks to some luck and some teamwork and not a small amount of skill. But to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking? And I'll look up more intently, I guess.
I am Saeed. You saved my life 2 days ago in the Goblin Raid, and I was also the one that opened the gate for you when you came back from your scouting mission at Vardent Hollow. And again, last night, when you returned, wounded from the combat. It must have been ferocious combat to leave you so addled.
I'm sorry, there's been a lot this past day and a half. It's good to see you, friend. Please sit with us.
He sits and starts eating. Demeclees, you and Henry have filled up and you can make your way back, and you see Tobias sitting in your seat.
I would be eating his chicken also. He took way too long. So I ate my chicken, pulled the plate over. I'm like looking around. All right, well, it's getting cold. And I'm just going to be mid-eating it as he walks up. I'm going to be like, oh, Demeclees, you're here.
You could kindly get your mitts out of my chicken. I would like to do a proper tribute. That table of short humans over there was very disrespectful. They poured all the meat on the ground. I would like to give a tribute to a great person who was lost along the way. A person that we all knew.
I'll be like, Demeclees, how can we do a toast? I mean, you were getting the meads. Now they're on the floor. Did you get more?
What? Yes, we have 4 in my hand. Look.
Oh.
And I'll put them all down onto the table. Grab one. And then the one that Manx tries to grab, I'll just like snatch and pour onto the ground. This is for Ida.
And I'll be like, here.
Tobias and Saeed are also looking left out along with Manx, because there's now 2 additional people at the table. Nictor, as you're sitting, there's somebody that plunks down a big tankard of soup covered with the top in cheese, and you feel Roderick, his gruff voice, as he eases into next to you into the bench. He's moving slowly.
Roderick.
Hello there, Nictor. I just fished my first batch of French onion soup. Figured you should be the first one to try it.
I have a question. What makes it French?
French onions, of course, my boy.
But I'm not familiar with French. Where's French from?
That's just what this type of onion is called. French onion.
So they have their own inherent Frenchness to them.
I'm going to get up mid whatever this is and get more chicken. So.
Oh, if you could grab me another chicken, Axel, that would be delightful.
I'm going to follow him, get more venison, and get 3 meads for Saeed and myself, and the last gentleman's name that's with us, Roderick, right?
Right. So back to the onions. There's lots of other types of onions, right? There's Calcutta onions, aluminum onions, potato onions, even Aluma capivara onions.
Ooh, that one sounds fun. Aluma Pacatello.
Sounds to me like you're a real onion aficionado. Why don't you come sit next to me here, Gnomeling, and we'll talk more?
A curiosity of mine is, are there other such onions that are not French? I'd love to know more about those clamatas or whatever you call them.
Time slips past, and eventually you'll realize that the sun starts to go down and it's getting to be dusk.
If this onion conversation was happening this entire time, I'm gonna be wasted. I was just, every time, like, the subject or the extrapolation of the onions from, the inception of an onion to now in present time, I would have just been slamming meats, okay? I need that to be known. Continue.
We're going to give you the intoxicated status, so you just get disadvantage on trying to do everything. Nictor, I'm going to give you the intoxicated as well. Manx, is your character drinking or is your character not partaking?
I will have 2 meads, and then when things start to devolve, I'm going to look around for Freya.
You find her at the feast. She doesn't really say anything. She just seems totally burnt out, but you can just go sit next to her quietly. And anytime you try and make conversation, she just looks at you, indicating she doesn't want to talk to anyone.
That's fair. I'm going to tell her a story about perseverance in insurmountable odds. I just talking to no one in particular and right beside her and give her 6 temporary hit points. And I also want to use that as bardic inspiration and give her inspiration.
Don't take this as a conversation starter. But as I sit in that church holding the hands of those who are dying, it makes me think that the only ones who win in war are those who keep the souls in the underworld.
Thanks for letting me sit next to you and talk.
It reminds me of a melody I think my mother used to sing to me as a child, but I can't remember the actual song.
And with that, you leave her alone on the edge of the feast and return to your companions, still discussing onions.
Fascinating. How many layers does an onion have? And is the center a layer, or is it just a center?
The center of an onion is called a nugget, my boy.
A nugget? This is fascinating.
Demeclees, you are going to get advantages on anything related to onions in the future. So if for some reason that ever actually comes up, we're going to assume that you know all about onions, because we're going to assume you talked to Roderick more or less for hours. So as the moon starts to rise, mostly through your drunken stupor as the group, there's a stage, and you can see that Cedric has taken the stage and held out his hands, and all of a sudden things kind of go quiet, and all the attention and focus moves to Cedric. His voice seems kind of unnaturally loud, almost like it's been magically enhanced.
Welcome, people of Seafall. I hope you have eaten and drank me into poverty tonight. Not 3 days ago, we were beset by goblin rabble right here in this very market. Many of you lost friends, like Lila Summerfield. Who here has not tasted the deliciousness of Amberstone Abbey honey? Or Elias Greenleaf, head of the Greenleaf Vimley Farm, outside of town, with the crunchiest carrots in the region. Or Rashid, our faithful priest of Mora, who has married many of you here tonight. Dozens of other friends and family were lost, and even our own driftwood crown stolen from the top of Mara's head. It demanded vengeance. We mustered our courage and gathered our spears, and when the horn of victory blew, we have returned the crown to its rightful place.
And he holds up the crown, and it is now shining light out, almost like a lighthouse in all directions.
Now, how did he get that to happen?
The crowd roars to its feet, and beer flies everywhere. After a few minutes, Cedric holds up his hand for quiet, and he sets the crown on the little pedestal next to him so that it's still shining light.
Though you all fought well, there is a few among you who showed truly exceptional bravery. Eric Crooked Tooth, please stand. You are the first man through the breach at Vardent Hollow, and for your bravery, take this bag of 30 gold pieces.
And he tosses a small pouch, which is definitely caught by the guy that he was referring to.
Who's that? Oh, yes, right. Start with the small guys.
Tobias Greenleaf, you saved the lives of all of your unit for holding off one of those war bears and killing at least a dozen goblins. For that, you have my thanks. 50 gold pieces, and a place on my tide guard.
And he throws the bag of gold to Tobias, who does not catch it because he's too drunk, and it just hits him in the chest, and he falls over onto the table.
And we would be like the drunken buddies that are like, ah!
Axel Tarkus, you pushed through to the central keep, and your strong shield protected those in your party. For you, I have a special gift.
Please be gold, please be gold, please be gold.
I'm gonna stand up very drunkenly.
I give you plate armor of the Kraken, worn by my late brother Alric. Garrick has worked through the night to restore such a brilliant piece. Your simple mason's hammer no longer fits a man of your station, and so we've had Garrick create the hammerhead.
I'm gonna be cheering and showing just great enthusiasm.
It's a warhammer with a spike on the other end, but it's a pole arm. So it's got about a 7-foot length of ash staff, and then a warhammer with a big hook spike on the other end. So one end is a warhammer and the other end is a spike.
Nictor, you are not sworn to our house. Yet when called upon, you served with great courage. I have no gifts for you, as your kind eschew traditional material wealth. However, I am told that Friar Gunnar here has something for you instead.
And you see the old dwarven friar shuffle onto the stage.
I'm also standing up next to Axel now that my name's been called.
Nictor, please come to the stage to discuss with Friar Gunnar.
Oh, by the fiery forge, let's go.
As you reach the stage, Friar Gunnar warmly shakes your hand, and then pulls you in close so only you, Nictor, can hear what he says.
Well done, Nictor. Us at the Abbey are extremely proud of all that you have accomplished. What I am about to give you, know that you have earned it.
And then kind of grunts in Dwarvish, and then actually begins to sing a song. He moves your hand up in front of your body and moving his hands back and forth over your hand. And your first reaction is that you feel like searing pain in your wrist, and you go to flinch and move away, but he holds your hand and it stops you from moving. And then over time, at Nictor, you actually start to see an illusion of a band made of amber that grows around your wrist. And he finishes his chanting,
Welcome to the Obsidian Pathway. May the rest of your journey be simple and true.
And moves away.
By golly, the Amber Ring! Thank you! I'm just exuberant and flustered and excited for this honor. Woo! When I leave.
So I'd be like, yeah! Just kind of heckling a little bit.
Cedric gestures for you to return to your table, but in your drunken state, you manage to trip down the stairs and tear open some of the stitchings in your shoulder.
We're nailing it!
Preacher Manx, your inspiration and hope carried your team through its darkest hours and safely managed to return the crown to Seafall. I have a gift for you as well. Leather armor made from a Chapika whale. Majestic beasts.
Hell yeah. I bow very graciously.
And finally, Demeclees, the seer of fates.
Ooh, awesome. It's actually technically the future whisperer, seer of fates, and listener of destiny.
Cedric starts scanning the crowd for you, but he can't see you.
Here. I'm gonna try and raise my hand up, trying to get myself there. If I can't, I'd like to maybe try and stand on top of the table and just step on somebody's chicken.
I would just pick him up.
I am right here. Do I get a lost leprechaun sock?
Ah, there you are, Demeclees.
How about a banshee's whisper?
What to offer to a man who can see into the future and bring such fortune to my house?
Vampire teeth?
I present you with robes made of the finest cloth, fit for a man of your station.
Oh. Well, it's no vampire's teeth, but very nice.
Leslie, you went into that keep, hunting for the Driftwood crown, and yet you brought me back something even more valuable. My long-lost son, Henry.
Everyone kind of pauses and looks puzzled.
14 years ago, as many of you here know, my son was kidnapped. We thought vanished into thin air. During the raid on the central keep, these four discovered my son in the bowels of the fortress, tortured and imprisoned for these last 14 years. Thank you again brave Demeclees and companions, for rescuing my son. Celebrate this evening, and for those of you who reside outside of these walls, consider bringing your family in to the safety of Seafall, for I suspect we will have not heard the last of these goblins. Tomorrow will bring a new day, but for tonight, let us give thanks that we are still here.
Here, here.
At this moment, Tobias, who had been sprawled senseless after being hit with the bag of coins, manages to climb to his feet, gaze around drunkenly, and then begin to climb onto the table.
Wait a second. This reminds me of a song.
He begins kicking plates out of his way as he stands on top of the table.
Oi, Sven! Why don't you play on that lute?
He hollers at a wiry-looking bowman carrying a lute, who reluctantly begins to play.
You, over there, with your drums. Give me some drums.
And then he starts to sing loudly from the table in a surprisingly steady voice.
From the depths we rise and sail, like the kraken's stormy gale. With iron in hand and fire in eye, we crush our foes, hear their cries. The sea is wild, the winds are strong, but we are stronger. We move as one, by the gods we claim this shore. We fight, we feast, we ask no more. Raise your horns to the kraken's roar. We've won this day, we'll fight no more. The waves are blood, the skies are flame, and all shall tremble at our name. The beast beneath, it calls us home, but today we stand, our banners flow. Raise your horns, let the heavens shake, for the kraken's roar and the glory we take.
Tobias begins kicking plates and tankards out of the way as he continues to dance around wildly on the table.
I was hoping he would get me a Cyclops' eye patch, but it's, I guess it's a lot to ask for. These robes are kind of nice. That ring is very stylish, if I might say so.
Thank you. It's quite a surprise honor, really. It's essentially an invitation to be invited into the Obsidian Monks.
Wow, that sounds very prestigious and very nice, yeah. It's a little better than robes, eh?
Well, I've yet to find out what it does, but you look pretty warm in your robes. Are they not comfy?
It's okay. I mean, they're fine. It's not like a leprechaun sock, you know. Like it's not very useful.
Yeah, Demeclees, you look freaking great.
I appreciate that, Axel. You have a nice head as well. It must be hard to shop for a helmet.
No, it is.
By the kraken's maw, we ride the storm. In thunder and fury, our legend is born. We conquer the seas, the land, the sky. With kraken strength, we'll never die.
As the drunken revelry continues, Demeclees and Manx are pulled aside by Henry Stormrider, who, after just a few days of managing to get some real rest and food in him, seems to be recovering remarkably well and looks much closer to the 28-year-old man you anticipated, as opposed to the 60-year-old torture victim that you'd first encountered in Vardent Hollow.
Demeclees, Manx. Seems like the two of you are at least in somewhat working order. When you've decided to call it a night, find your way back to the Rusty Tankard Inn, where you'd stayed previously. Demeclees, you can take the same room. Manx, guide the rest. You can have the same rooms as you did before. Shouldn't have any interruptions there, and we'll see you in the morning.
He goes to walk away for a few steps and then turns back.
Thank you again for rescuing me. I know that's not why you went to Vardent Hollow, but thank you.
And with that, he turns on his heel and walks back to the head table. Turning back to the debauchery of the feast, Demeclees, you and Manx see that Tobias is still singing and dancing wildly on the table. Only now he's been joined by his brother Grimoire, whose splinted leg makes his dancing seem more like a zombie shuffle than anything resembling human movement. Just as that thought strikes the both of you, you see a drunken Axel climb onto the table and join the two brothers. no longer his apprentices, now his friends.
No man or God can stand this day, for we have torn the chains away. Raise your horns to the Kraken's roar. We've won this day, we'll fight no more. The waves are blood, the skies are flame, and all shall tremble at our name. The beast beneath, it calls us home, but today we stand our battles slow. Raise your horns, let the heavens shake, for the Kraken's roar and the glory we take.
Thanks for listening to this episode of You Rolled a One. I hope you enjoyed the party. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. If you want to learn more about the world of Belcar, check out our YouTube channel or Instagram. And in the meantime, don't roll any ones at the feast.